She got into the wrong car. Simple mistake, right? Except the man behind the wheel wasn't some random driver. He was connected to people who made problems disappear, and somehow, Hadley had just become his problem. This story takes turns you won't see coming. And I mean that. So quickly subscribe so you catch every twist before it's too late. The door clicked shut behind Hadley before she realized something was wrong. The interior looked different, fancier than the rideshare app showed. Black leather seats, tinted windows that made everything outside look gray and distant. Are you picking up from the university?" she asked, clutching her backpack. The driver turned around slowly. Not the friendly-looking woman from the app photo. This was a man, maybe late 20s, with sharp eyes that seemed to calculate everything in one glance. His dark suit probably cost more than her entire semester's textbooks. "I think you have the wrong car," he said, his accent thick but his English clear. Hadley's stomach dropped. She grabbed the door handle, locked. Her heart started racing as she fumbled with the mechanism, but nothing worked. "Hey, unlock this right now." "The child lock is on," he interrupted, almost bored. "I'll open it in a moment, but first, where were you supposed to go?" "None of your business. Let me out." He pulled out his phone, pressed something, and the locks clicked open. "Go." Hadley practically fell out of the car, stumbling onto the sidewalk. She watched the sleek black sedan pull away, her hands shaking. What kind of person had child locks on in a car like that? She pulled out her phone and saw 3 missed calls from her actual rideshare driver, who was apparently 2 blocks away the whole time. 3 days later, Hadley walked out of her chemistry class to find the same black car parked directly in front of the science building. Same tinted windows. Same expensive look that screamed, "I don't belong on a college campus." The back window rolled down. That same man sat there, but this time he wore casual clothes. Well, casual for someone who looked like money. A simple black shirt that probably still cost a fortune. "You," Hadley said, stopping dead. "Get in." "Absolutely not. I'm calling security." "Your roommate Georgia sent me," he said calmly. "She said you need a ride to the hospital, something about your brother." Hadley's blood went cold. "How do you know Georgia? How do you know about Felix?" He held up his phone, showing a text thread with Georgia's number. The messages were right there. Her roommate explaining that Hadley's little brother had been in an accident, that she was in class and unreachable, that someone needed to get her to County General immediately. Hadley's mind raced. This could be a trap. But Georgia's number was real, and the messages, they knew details only Georgia would know. 5 seconds, the man said. "Then I leave and you figure it out yourself." She got in. The car moved through traffic like water, smooth and fast. The man, she still didn't know his name, made a phone call in another language. Korean, maybe. His tone was sharp, commanding. "Is he okay?" Hadley asked quietly, her voice breaking. "My brother. Broken arm. Minor concussion. He'll recover." The man glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "Your roommate works at my uncle's restaurant. She called in a favor." "What kind of favor requires a personal chauffeur in a car like this?" Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, probably. The kind where I was already nearby. They arrived at the hospital in 12 minutes. What should have taken 30 with normal traffic and no special treatment. Hadley noticed how the man drove. Not reckless, but like someone who knew exactly which rules could be bent and which couldn't. "Thank you," she said, hand on the door. "I don't know why you helped, but your roommate is important to my uncle's business. That makes you adjacent to people I protect." Protect. The word hung in the air strangely. Hadley found Felix in a room on the 4th floor, his arm in a cast, their Aunt Pauline sitting beside him. Relief flooded through her so intensely she almost collapsed. "Who brought you?" Aunt Pauline asked, hugging her tight. "I called you 6 times. Friend. Long story." Felix grinned despite the bandage on his forehead. "I'm fine, sis. Just fell off the skateboard ramp. Very dramatic, though. 3 people screamed." Later, after Aunt Pauline left to get coffee, Felix lowered his voice. That guy who brought you, he's still in the parking lot. I saw him from the window, just sitting in his car. Hadley's curiosity won. She rode the elevator down, walked through the sliding doors, and found the black sedan in the same spot. The window rolled down as she approached. Why are you still here? She asked, making sure you're safe. Safe from what? He studied her for a long moment. Your roommate said you walk home, alone at night, through bad areas. She worries. Georgia has a big mouth. Georgia is smart. You should listen to her more. Hadley crossed her arms. I don't even know your name. Do Kayum. Well, Do Kayum, I appreciate the ride, but I don't need a bodyguard. Good. I'm not offering to be one. He started the window rolling up, then paused. But if you need a ride somewhere safe, Georgia has my number now. The next 2 weeks passed normally. Classes, study groups, her part-time job at the campus library. Hadley didn't see Do Kyum again, and she told herself that was fine. Normal was good. Normal didn't involve mysterious men with child locks and opinions about her safety. Then Georgia came home with a black eye. What happened? Hadley dropped her backpack, rushing to her roommate's side. Georgia waved her off, wincing. Just some drunk idiot at the restaurant. Grabbed my arm too hard, I pulled away, he swung. Manager kicked him out. Did you file a police report? Girl, the police don't care about some drunk tourist hitting a waitress. Georgia pressed ice to her face. Besides, it's handled. Handled how? The knock on their apartment door came before Georgia could answer. Hadley opened it to find Do Kyum standing there with a first aid kit that looked more advanced than anything in their bathroom cabinet. You called him? Hadley asked Georgia. His uncle owns the restaurant, remember? He called me. Do Kyum walked in without invitation, setting the kit on their coffee table. He examined Georgia's eye with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Ice for 20 minutes, then this cream. It'll keep the swelling down. The guy who did this, Georgia started, won't be returning to the restaurant, or any restaurant in this city probably. Do Kyum's tone was casual, but something underneath it made Hadley's skin prickle. After he left, Hadley cornered Georgia. What does that mean? What did he do? I don't know and I don't ask. Georgia shrugged. Do Kyum's family. They're connected, okay? Not in a bad way, just they handle things. The uncle who owns the restaurant owns like 12 others too. They look after their people. Connected how? The kind where you don't ask too many questions and you appreciate that someone actually gives a damn when you get hurt. Hadley couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Do Kyum's expression when he'd said that man wouldn't be returning. Not angry, not threatening, just certain. Like he'd already decided the outcome and reality would simply comply. Saturday morning, her phone rang from an unknown number. This is Hadley, she answered cautiously. It's Do Kyum. Are you free today? Her heart did something complicated. Why? My uncle wants to meet you. Says anyone important to Georgia is important to him. I'm not important to Georgia. We've only been roommates for 4 months. She talks about you constantly. Please don't argue, just can you be ready in an hour? Hadley stared at her closet, suddenly unsure what you wore to meet the uncle of a mysteriously connected Korean man who drove expensive cars and made problems disappear. She settled on jeans and a nice sweater, figuring casual but respectful was safer than trying too hard. The black car arrived exactly 1 hour later. Do Kyum took her to a restaurant in the downtown district, the kind with a name in Korean characters and no English menu visible in the window. Inside, the smell of grilled meat and garlic made her stomach rumble. An older man with kind eyes and silver hair stood from a corner table. You must be Hadley, he said in lightly accented English, gesturing to a seat. I'm Gun-ha. Georgia speaks very highly of you. The meal that followed was overwhelming. Gun-ha ordered what felt like half the menu, insisting she try everything. Between bites, he asked about her studies, her family, her plans after graduation. Pre-med is ambitious, Gun-ha said, nodding approvingly. My nephew was supposed to study medicine too. Instead, he chose other paths. Do Kyum, sitting quietly beside his uncle, said nothing. Georgia is like family to me, Gunha continued. Which means you are also under this roof now, so to speak. If you need anything, a job, help with tuition, a safe place, you ask. That's incredibly generous, but I can't accept. It's not charity. I invest in good people. Georgia is good people. You are good people. Gunha smiled. Besides, Do Kyum seems to think you're stubborn and independent. I like that. Too many young people today lack spine. After the meal, Do Kyum drove her back toward campus but took a different route, stopping at a park overlooking the river. Your uncle is nice, Hadley said. But I still don't understand what you do exactly. I manage security for the family businesses. Security? Yes. The kind that involves making people disappear from restaurants? Do Kyum turned to look at her, directly. The kind that involves making sure people I care about don't get hurt. The man who hit Georgia? He won't face criminal charges, but he'll find his credit card suddenly maxed out, his job application mysteriously rejected, his landlord choosing not to renew his lease. Small things, legal things, things that add up to leaving town. That's actually kind of brilliant. It's effective. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. My family isn't what you'd call conventional. We operate in spaces between the law, not breaking it, but bending it when necessary. But we have rules. No violence unless absolutely defensive. No drugs, no exploitation. We protect our people and we handle problems quietly. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what you're getting close to. Hadley's pulse quickened. I'm not getting close to anything, aren't you? His eyes held hers. You could have refused the ride today. You could have said no to meeting my uncle, but you didn't. That's just politeness. That's curiosity, interest. Do Kyum leaned back against the car. I see you, Hadley. The way you protect your brother, work 2 jobs, study until 3 in the morning. You're strong, but strength doesn't mean you have to carry everything alone. Something in his voice made her chest tight. I barely know you. Then get to know me. He pulled out his phone. Real number this time, not through Georgia, just if you want to talk, or need anything, or even if you're just bored between classes. Hadley took the phone, fingers trembling slightly as she entered her number. This was probably a mistake. Definitely a complication she didn't need. But when she handed it back and saw the way he smiled, small, genuine, like she'd given him something precious, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. The texts started simple. Do Kyum asking if she'd eaten, reminding her to sleep between study sessions, sending pictures of random things he found funny. A cat stuck in a tree outside his office, a misspelled sign at a convenience store. Nothing serious. Nothing that felt like the mysterious security manager who bent rules and protected people. Just Do Kyum. You're smiling at your phone again, her lab partner Marcus noted during chemistry. New boyfriend? What? No, just a friend. Sure. But Marcus wasn't entirely wrong. Over the next 3 weeks, Hadley found herself looking forward to those messages. Found herself texting back faster than she should during lectures. Found herself disappointed on days when Do Kyum got too busy and went silent for hours. Then came the Friday that changed everything. Hadley worked the closing shift at the library, which meant leaving campus at 10 p.m. Normally fine, but tonight, 3 men stood near the bike racks, passing around a bottle in a paper bag. Their eyes tracked her as she walked past. Hey, beautiful, one called out. Need company walking home? She ignored them, walking faster. Footsteps behind her. Close, getting closer. Hadley reached for her phone just as a hand grabbed her backpack, yanking her backwards. She spun around, ready to scream, when suddenly the man stumbled away from her, clutching his wrist. Do Kyum stood there, his expression colder than she'd ever seen it. She said no. We didn't touch her, man. You grabbed her bag. I saw it. Do Kyum's voice was quiet, but sharp. "Walk away, now." The three men looked at each other, then at Do Kyum, then apparently decided whatever they were drinking wasn't worth whatever this was. They scattered. Hadley's legs felt weak. Were you following me?" "Yes." No apology in his tone. "You work Friday nights. This area isn't safe after dark. So yes, I've been following you for 2 weeks." That's crazy. That's caring." He stepped closer, and she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands flexed like he was forcing them to stay still. "Those men were going to hurt you, Hadley. Don't tell me I'm crazy for preventing that. You can't just stalk me because you're worried. Then let me drive you home. Let me make sure you're safe. Because I can't." He stopped, jaw tight. "I can't focus on anything else when I know you're out here alone." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Hadley's anger deflated, replaced by something warmer, more complicated. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay, you can drive me home on Fridays." The routine started. Every Friday, Do Kyum's car waited outside the library at 10. They'd drive through the city, sometimes in comfortable silence, sometimes talking about everything and nothing. He told her about growing up between two cultures, never quite fitting in either. She told him about raising Felix after their parents died, about the pressure of being the responsible one. One night, he took her to a night market in the Korean district. Stalls selling street food, handmade jewelry, vintage clothes. They walked side by side, not quite touching but close enough that their arms brushed occasionally. "Try this," Do Kyum said, handing her a skewer of rice cakes in spicy sauce. Hadley bit into it and immediately regretted everything. "Oh my God, that's so hot." He laughed, actually laughed, and bought her a sweet drink to cool her mouth. "You're supposed to build up tolerance, or you're supposed to warn people before you set their mouth on fire." They sat on a bench watching people pass by. Do Kyum's phone kept buzzing, but he ignored it. "Don't you need to get that?" Hadley asked. "Not when I'm with you." Her heart did that complicated thing again. "Do Kyum, I know this is strange," he said, staring at his hands. "I know I'm strange. My life, my family, all of it. And you're this brilliant, normal person with a future full of saving lives and being everything good. I shouldn't drag you into my world." "Maybe I want to be dragged." The words surprised her, but they were true. "Maybe your world isn't as scary as you think. Maybe I like spending time with you." He turned to look at her then, really look at her. And Hadley saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Not scary, not dangerous, just hope. Like she'd said exactly what he'd been waiting to hear. "Hadley, His phone rang, loud and insistent. He glanced at the screen and his entire expression changed. "I have to take this." He walked a few feet away, speaking rapidly in Korean. His tone grew sharper, more commanding. When he came back, the softness was gone, replaced by that cold efficiency she'd seen the night he confronted the men at her campus. "I need to handle something. I'll take you home first." "What's wrong?" "Business. Nothing you need to worry about." But Hadley saw the tension in his jaw, the way his hands had curled into fists. "Do Kyum, talk to me. Someone tried to rob one of my uncle's restaurants, held a knife to one of the servers." His voice was flat, controlled. "I need to make sure my people are safe and deal with the person responsible." "Deal with them how?" "You don't want to know." "I do, actually. Because if we're—" She hesitated, not sure what they were. "If you want me in your life, I need to know what that life actually looks like." Do Kyum studied her for a long moment. Then he made a decision. "Come with me." They drove to the restaurant, where police cars already filled the parking lot. Inside, a young server was giving her statement to officers while Gunha talked with the detective in charge. The robber had already been arrested, caught trying to flee. "Then what are we doing here?" Hadley whispered. "Watching," Do Kyum said. "Making sure the police do their job. Making sure my uncle's employee gets justice, and if they don't—" He trailed off. But the detective was thorough. The server's statement was taken seriously. The robber was charged with armed robbery and assault. Everything by the book. On the drive back to Hadley's apartment, Do Kyum was quiet. "You thought you'd have to step in," Hadley said. "Handle it yourself." "I was prepared to, but the law worked tonight. It doesn't always. And when it doesn't." He pulled up to her building, put the car in park. "When it doesn't, I make sure my people still get justice. Maybe not the legal kind, but the kind that means they can sleep at night knowing someone protected them." Hadley understood then. Really understood. Do Kyum wasn't a criminal. He was just someone who'd seen the law fail too many times, who'd decided that protecting people mattered more than staying perfectly inside lines society drew. Right or wrong, that was who he was. "I'm still here," she said softly. "That doesn't scare me away." His hand found hers in the dark car, fingers interlacing. "It should. Well, I've never been good at doing what I should." Finals week arrived like a storm, and Hadley barely had time to think about anything except organic chemistry equations and anatomy diagrams. Do Kyum seemed to understand, his texts becoming less frequent but more thoughtful. Coffee deliveries to the library. Study snacks left at her apartment door with notes that said things like, "Brain food, eat it. J." The night before her hardest exam, Hadley sat in the library until midnight, eyes burning from staring at textbook pages. Her phone buzzed. "Come outside, trust me." She found Do Kyum leaning against his car, holding 2 cups of tea. "You need a break," he said simply. "I need to study. You need to let your brain rest so it can actually retain information." He handed her a cup. 20 minutes, then I'll bring you back." They drove to the river again, that same overlook where he'd first told her about his family. The city lights reflected on the water, making everything look softer than it was. "I used to come here when I was younger," Do Kyum said. "When the pressure of being who my family needed got too heavy, I'd just sit and watch the water and remember that the world was bigger than my problems." "Does it still work?" "Sometimes." He glanced at her. "Works better with company, though." Hadley leaned back against the hood of the car beside him, their shoulders touching. "Tell me something real, something you've never told anyone else." Do Kyum was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "I wanted to be a teacher, elementary school. I love kids, the way they see the world like everything's possible. But my family needed me, and I'm good at what I do. So I put that dream away." "It's not too late?" "Yes, it is. I've made choices, Hadley. Done things that would make a school board reject my application immediately. I live in a different world now." He turned to face her. "But being with you, it reminds me that good worlds still exist. That not everything has to be complicated and gray." "I'm not as good as you think," Hadley said. "I'm selfish and stubborn, and I let Felix eat cereal for dinner 3 nights in a row last month because I was too tired to cook. You're 19 and raising a kid while maintaining a pre-med GPA. That's not selfish, that's superhuman." The way he looked at her made Hadley feel seen in a way she'd never experienced. Not just the strong parts, but the tired parts, the scared parts, the parts she tried to hide from everyone else. "I think I'm falling for you," she whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. Do Kyum's expression did something complicated. "Hadley, you don't have to say it back. I needed you to know. I've been falling for you since the day you got in my car by mistake and demanded I let you out like you weren't even slightly afraid." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "But I'm terrified of what that means, of what could happen if my world touches yours. Maybe our worlds are already touching. Maybe that's okay." He drove her back to the library, but before she got out, he caught her hand. "Ace that exam tomorrow, then let me take you somewhere special." Hadley did ace the exam, walked out of the testing room feeling lighter than she had in weeks. She texted Do Kyum immediately. "Crushed it. Where are we going?" His response, "Dressed nice. Picking you up at 7. Georgia helped her get ready, lending her a deep blue dress that actually fit properly and doing her makeup in a way that made her eyes look huge. "He's taking you somewhere fancy," Georgia predicted. "This is like official date territory. We've been on dates before. Coffee runs and late-night talks aren't dates. This is a date. Georgia grinned. "My girl's getting romanced by a fine Korean man who looks at her like she hung the moon. I'm living vicariously through you so hard right now." The restaurant Do Kyum took her to was elegant, but not stuffy, with private booths and soft lighting. He wore a dark blue shirt that matched her dress. Coincidence, probably, but it made her smile. "You look beautiful," he said, and the sincerity in his voice made her cheeks warm. "You clean up okay yourself." Dinner was perfect. They talked about everything: her plans for medical school, his uncle's expansion into a new district, Felix's latest skateboarding attempts, Do Kyum's favorite childhood memories. Easy conversation, like they'd known each other for years instead of months. "I want to introduce you to more of my family," Do Kyum said over dessert. "Not just Uncle Gun-ha. My parents, my sister, they've been asking about you." "You told them about me?" "I tell them about everything important." His hand found hers across the table. "You're important, Hadley. More important than anything else in my life right now." Her heart hammered. "Do Kyum!" The door to their private booth slammed open. 3 men in suits stood there, and Hadley recognized the cold professionalism of people who dealt in violence for a living. "Do Kyum Lee," the tallest one said. "Your uncle wants to see you. Now." Do Kyum's expression went ice cold. "I'm having dinner. Tell him I'll call tomorrow." "It's not a request." Something passed between Do Kyum and the men, some unspoken understanding. He stood slowly, positioning himself between Hadley and the newcomers. "Wait in the car," he told her. "This won't take long." "I'm not leaving you." "Hadley, please." His voice was gentle but firm. "This is family business. I need to know you're safe." She wanted to argue, but the look in his eyes stopped her. Fear, not for himself, but for her. She nodded and let him escort her to his car, where a different man, younger, nervous-looking, stood guard. "What's happening?" Hadley demanded. "I don't know, miss, but Do Kyum will handle it. He always does." 45 minutes passed. Each minute felt like an hour. Finally, Do Kyum emerged from the restaurant, his expression dark. "Take Hadley home," he told the guard. "Safe and direct, no stops." "Wait, what about you?" "I have to go deal with something." He wouldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry. I'll call you when I can." "Do Kyum, you're scaring me." He pulled her close then. Not quite a hug, but desperate enough to make her heart break. "I need you to trust me. Go home, lock your doors, and whatever you hear about me in the next few days, remember that I care about you more than anything." Then he was gone, sliding into another car that peeled away into the night. The guard drove her home in silence. Hadley climbed the stairs to her apartment in a daze, finding Georgia waiting up despite the late hour. "What happened? You look like you saw a ghost." Hadley told her everything. Georgia's expression grew increasingly worried. "Something big is going down," Georgia said. "Uncle Gun-ha called the restaurant tonight, told everyone to close early and go home, said there was family business that needed attention." "What kind of business?" "The kind that involves all the family heads meeting in one place. That only happens when there's a serious problem." Hadley didn't sleep that night. She kept her phone clutched in her hand, waiting for a call or text that never came. By morning, she was exhausted and terrified. Then her phone finally buzzed. But it wasn't Do Kyum. It was a news alert. Local business owner Gun-ha Lee arrested in connection with organized crime investigation. Hadley's hands shook as she read the article. Federal agents had raided multiple businesses owned by Gun-ha Lee, seizing financial records and arresting several employees. The charges included money laundering, racketeering, and conspiracy. Gun-ha's mugshot showed a man who looked 10 years older than the kind person who'd shared a meal with her weeks ago. No mention of Do Kyum, but that didn't mean he was safe. She called his number 15 times. All went to voicemail. Texted until her fingers cramped. Nothing. By noon, panic had fully set in. "I need to find him," Hadley told Georgia. "Girl, if the feds are involved, you need to stay far away from this. He could be hurt. He could be arrested. He could—" Her voice broke. Georgia grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. Do Kyum is smart. He knew this could happen. Whatever he told you to do, you do it. You trust him." But trusting felt impossible when every news update showed more evidence of the Lee family's illegal activities. The careful organization behind their businesses. The way they'd operated just outside legal boundaries for years. Everything Do Kyum had told her was true, but seeing it laid out in federal indictments made it real in a way that terrified her. 3 days passed. No word from Do Kyum. Hadley went through the motions of her life. Classes, work, caring for Felix. But everything felt hollow. At night, she stared at her phone, remembering his last words. "Remember that I care about you more than anything." On the 4th day, someone knocked on her apartment door at 2 in the morning. Hadley opened it to find a woman in her 30s, elegant and exhausted looking, with Do Kyum's eyes. "You're Hadley," the woman said. It wasn't a question. "I'm Mina, Do Kyum's sister. We need to talk." Inside, over tea that neither of them drank, Mina explained everything. "The federal investigation has been building for 2 years. Someone inside the organization turned informant, fed them information." Mina's voice was tight with controlled fury. "My father and uncle knew it was coming. They've been preparing, moving assets, protecting people." "Where's Do Kyum?" "Safe, hidden. He wasn't directly involved in the financial operations, so they have less evidence against him. But if he surfaces now, they'll arrest him just to pressure my father." Mina met Hadley's eyes. "He made me promise to check on you, to make sure you were okay." "I'm not okay. I need to see him." "That's impossible right now." "I don't care about impossible." Hadley stood, surprising herself with her own conviction. "He told me to trust him and I do. But trust goes both ways. Take me to him, or tell me where he is, or I'll find him myself." Mina studied her for a long moment, then smiled slightly. "He said you were stubborn. I didn't realize how much." She pulled out her phone, made a call, spoke rapidly in Korean. Then, "Someone will pick you up in an hour. Pack light. And Hadley, what you're walking into, there's no walking back from it. Once you know where he is, once you see what our family really looks like at its core, you're part of this. Forever." "I'm already part of it," Hadley said simply. "I chose that when I let myself fall for him." The safe house was 2 hours outside the city, a cabin by a lake that looked like something from a vacation rental website. Nothing sinister about it, just quiet and isolated. Do Kyum stood on the porch when the car pulled up, and Hadley was out the door before it fully stopped, running to him. He caught her, held her tight, and for the first time in days, she could breathe properly. "You're an idiot," she said into his shoulder. "Disappearing like that, not calling." "I know, I'm sorry. I couldn't risk them tracing any communication back to you." He pulled back enough to see her face. "You shouldn't be here. This puts you in danger." "I don't care. Hadley, I don't care," she repeated fiercely. "I don't care about the danger or the investigation or any of it. I care about you. So whatever happens next, we face it together." Something in Do Kyum's expression crumbled. Relief, probably. Or maybe just exhaustion from carrying everything alone. "My uncle is going to prison," he said quietly. "My father too. They're taking deals to protect the rest of us, but it means everything changes. The businesses, the family structure, all of it. What about you? I have a choice. I can testify against certain people, cooperate with the investigation, and walk away clean. Start over somewhere new." He cupped her face with both hands. "Or I can stay loyal to the family, refuse to cooperate, and risk arrest myself." "What do you want to do?" "I want to be the kind of man you deserve. The kind who doesn't have blood on his hands, even indirectly. The kind who can meet your family and not worry about them Googling my last name." His voice roughened. I want a future with you, Hadley. A real one. Normal and boring and safe. Tears burned her eyes. Then take it. Take the deal. Start over. It means betraying people who've protected me my whole life. It means choosing yourself. Choosing us. She pressed her forehead to his. Your uncle loves you. He'd want you to be happy, not imprisoned or constantly looking over your shoulder. Do-kyum kissed her forehead, gentle and reverent. You make it sound simple. Maybe it is. Maybe we make it complicated by overthinking. She stepped back, looking at him directly. I love you, Do-kyum, completely. But I'm also going to medical school, and I'm raising my brother, and I can't do that from the visiting room of a federal prison. So you need to decide what matters more. The ultimatum hung between them, harsh but necessary. Do-kyum's jaw worked, emotions warring across his face. Finally, you matter more than anything. 3 months later, Hadley sat in a courtroom gallery, watching Do-kyum testify. He wore a suit she'd helped him pick out, spoke clearly and honestly about the organization's operations, gave prosecutors exactly what they needed to build cases against the real criminals while protecting the people who'd been victims of circumstance. It was brutal, watching him dismantle the only life he'd known. But it was also brave in a way that made her chest tight with pride. Gun-ha smiled at Do-kyum from the defendant's table when the testimony finished. A small nod, forgiveness and understanding and love that transcended business and loyalty. Outside the courthouse, news cameras caught Do-kyum leaving. Reporters shouted questions he didn't answer. Hadley waited by his car, and when he saw her, his entire expression softened. You came, he said. Of course I came. I'll always come. They drove to her apartment in comfortable silence. Inside, Georgia had taken Felix to a movie, giving them privacy. Do-kyum sat on the couch like all the energy had drained out of him. I'm unemployed now, he said with dark humor. Probably unemployable once everyone knows what I was involved with. You were a security manager. That's literally what your resume will say. Hadley sat beside him. And you have skills, organization, crisis management, language abilities. You'll figure it out. You have a lot of faith in me. Someone wise once told me that strength doesn't mean carrying everything alone. She took his hand. We'll figure it out together. You, me, Georgia, Felix. That's our family now. Do-kyum pulled her close, and this time when he held her, it felt different. Not desperate or scared, just certain. Like they'd crossed some invisible line and come out the other side stronger. I love you, he said against her hair. More than I've ever loved anything. You know that, right? I know. I love you too. The next year unfolded in ways neither of them expected. Do-kyum found work as a consultant for businesses trying to improve their security systems, using everything he'd learned from his family's operations to help legitimate companies protect themselves. The pay wasn't amazing at first, but it was honest work that let him sleep at night. Hadley started medical school, her days consumed with lectures and lab work and study groups. But every evening she'd come home to Do-kyum cooking dinner in her tiny kitchen, or helping Felix with homework, or just existing in her space like he'd always belonged there. Gun-ha and Do-kyum's father both received sentences, 8 years and 10 years respectively. Not as bad as it could have been, thanks to their cooperation and lack of violent offenses. Do-kyum visited his uncle every month, sitting in the prison visiting room and talking about everything and nothing. You did the right thing, Gun-ha told him during one visit. I'm proud of you. Your father is too, even if he won't say it. I betrayed you. You saved yourself. That's what family does. We protect each other, even from ourselves sometimes. Gun-ha smiled. Besides, that girl of yours is special. Don't let her go. I won't. I'm planning to propose. Gun-ha's eyes lit up. About time. Do-kyum agonized over the proposal for weeks. Nothing felt right. Too fancy seemed like showing off. Too simple seemed like he wasn't trying. Finally, Georgia took pity on him. Just do something meaningful, stupid. Something that's about you two, not some movie proposal you saw once. So on a Friday night, the same night of the week they'd established their routine a year ago, Do-kyum picked Hadley up from the library at 10 p.m. like always. But instead of driving her home, he took her to the river overlook. "We're revisiting old spots now," Hadley teased. "This is where I first told you who I really was," Do-kyum said, getting out of the car. "Where you decided I was worth the risk. I wanted to come back here for this." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Hadley's breath caught. "I'm not asking you to marry me right now," Do-kyum said quickly. "I know you have medical school, and I'm still building my career, and there's so much ahead of us that we need to handle first. But I'm asking, will you marry me someday? When the time is right, will you build a life with me that's nothing like the one I came from, but everything we both want?" Hadley's eyes burned with tears. "You're proposing a proposal?" "I'm promising a future. The ring is a placeholder, a reminder that I'm serious about us." The ring was simple, delicate, beautiful. Hadley slid it onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. "Yes," she said, laughing through tears. "Yes to someday, yes to building something new, yes to all of it." Do-kyum lifted her off her feet, spinning her around, both of them laughing like kids. When he set her down, his expression was so full of joy that Hadley felt her heart might burst. "I never thought I could have this," he admitted. "Normal, happy, safe. You gave me that. You gave it to yourself. I just reminded you it existed." They stood there overlooking the river, the city lights reflecting on the water. Two people who'd found each other in the strangest way possible and decided to build something beautiful from it. Felix, now 15 and impossibly tall, walked Hadley down the aisle 3 years later. Georgia stood as maid of honor, crying happy tears. Gun-ha couldn't attend, still 6 months left on his sentence, but he sent a letter that Do-kyum read the night before the wedding, smiling through his own tears. Mina brought their parents, older and quieter but genuine in their happiness for their son. The wedding was small, intimate, filled with people who'd supported them through the chaos and celebrated the peace they'd found. During their first dance, Hadley whispered, "Remember when I got in your car by mistake?" "Best mistake of my life," Do-kyum whispered back. "Mine too." Years later, when their daughter asked how they met, Hadley and Do-kyum would exchange glances and smile. The story they told was simpler than the truth. A chance meeting, a friendship that grew into love, a decision to build something beautiful together. The complicated parts, the federal investigation, the family secrets, the near miss with a life Do-kyum didn't want. Those were details their daughter didn't need to carry. What mattered was this. Two people from different worlds had found each other, fought for each other, and chosen each other every single day since. That was the real story. Everything else was just context. So yeah, that's their story. From wrong car to forever. Pretty wild journey when you think about it, right? Makes you wonder what could happen if we all took chances on the unexpected things life throws our way. Maybe leave a comment about a time something went wrong that turned out incredibly right. I'd love to hear your stories too.